What are you doing?
I'm bored.
Go bang your head against the wall.
Mom.
Only boring people are bored.
Well, if that isn't some baby boomer logic, then I don't know what else is. I mean, doesn't that sound like something that, of course, a baby boomer would say that, you know? You know, it just sounds like that is definitely, I know that is something an old-fashioned person would say. You know, a baby boomer would say that. A millennial would never say that. You know, if you're boring, then, I mean, basically she was saying you're only bored because you're boring. She said that to her son. Like, talk about giving your kid emotional issues growing up. Like, thanks, baby boomers. You guys really, ooh, you had a way of fucking up your kids unlike any other generation since. So, but she does have a point though. Like, I love Betty Draper. I love Mad Men. And I'm just poking fun at the baby boomer generation. I don't think there's anything really wrong with them as a generation. That was just a joke. I love Mad Men. I love learning about that time period, the 60s. And I just love Mad Men. I love Betty Draper. And she's the mother in that clip that you just saw. But she, you know, Betty has a point. If you are bored, it's probably because you're being boring in that moment. You know, I'm not saying you are a boring person, because I don't think that anyone is a boring person. I just think that people do things that they find to be interesting, but I would not find to be interesting. So I'm not going to pass judgment on anyone. But, you know, she has a point. If you're bored, it's probably because you're being boring in that moment. Hi, I'm Magical. And in this video, I'm going to tell you the exact steps that you need to take to stop feeling bored all the time. So this video is for people who feel bored all the time. Like me, because I always feel bored all the time, and I just, yeah. But after following these techniques, I feel a lot less bored now than I used to in the past, before I followed these techniques. So basically, there's just 2 techniques to stop feeling chronic boredom all the time. The first technique is to simply have a laser focus with everything that you're doing while you're doing it. And I'm giving you all these techniques from Teal Swan, who is a spiritual teacher that I follow a lot. I follow her a lot. She, you know, she doesn't teach anything like, she does not teach like witchcraft or anything, so it's not that crazy what I'm about to tell you. But basically, Teal Swan says that the only reason why you're bored is because you're either doing something you don't want to do, not doing what you really want to do, or well, that's pretty much it. You're basically either doing something you feel like you're forced to do, or you wish you were doing something else, or you wish that the thing that you were doing was more interesting. So I feel like the reason why you're bored, it's either one of those 3 things. But Teal says that what you have to do is either decide to focus intensely on whatever it is you're doing, or do something else. So that's the 2 techniques. The first technique is the one where you just focus intensely on whatever it is that you're doing. So you can, like, say for example, you have to clean your house, but you don't want to because cleaning is really boring to me. I hate cleaning. So what you do is you focus with the laser focus on every single thing that you're doing. So while you're sweeping, you focus on the way that the dust moves into the little scoop thing, and you focus on the colors of the trash. And you just focus intensely on everything you're doing. You focus on the way the broom handle feels. If there's people around you, or if the TV's playing, you can focus intensely on the words, that every single word that the character is saying in the TV show or the movie. You just focus very intensely on everything you're doing. And you can do this at work as well. I've had a few different jobs over the years, and pretty much all of my jobs have been extraordinarily boring to me often. So I've had to use this technique a lot. Basically, when I was at work and I was bored, I would just do this. I would do what Teal Swan said to do. This first technique, which is to simply, you can just laser focus on your tasks at work, and that will make your tasks at work that you have to do be way more interesting. And it will make the time fly by way faster as well. Because when you constantly say, I'm bored, I'm bored, I'm bored, when you always think about how bored you are at work, it makes the day go by way slower at work. So you have to, when you're at work, the way that you make your job feel less boring until you can, get a new job that is not as boring. Until you can get a new job, you just need to focus with laser focus on everything that you do at work, and stop thinking about how bored you are. Every time you catch yourself thinking you're bored, just focus intensely on whatever it is you're doing. So if you have to do paperwork at that boring ass job, focus on reading every single word. Focus on the way the pen feels in your hand. Focus on what you're reading intensely. Really, if you're in a meeting and it's really boring, then just really intensely listen to what the person is saying. And I think when you find things you appreciate about anything, especially at work, it makes that thing more interesting. That's the way Source sees everything. Source sees everything with through the eyes of appreciating it. So if you want to see your job through the eyes of Source, if you want to see anything through the eyes of Source and therefore not be bored by it, then you simply have to find things you appreciate. So maybe there's someone at your job who you think is really boring, but you have to listen to them talk for half an hour every day in a meeting. So you just have to find things that you appreciate about what they're saying and about them as a person. Even if you hate them, you have to find things you appreciate about them to make work much more easy to get through. If you focus on the things you don't like about people at your job, it will make your job way more boring and way more difficult to get through. You have to find things you appreciate about the people that you don't like, and then you will enjoy your job way more. And you'll find that when you focus on the things that you like about people, it actually activates those things in people. So those people will start being nicer to you all of a sudden. And that's because you activated that in that person. You can basically get the best out of anyone by doing this. If you want to get the best out of someone, you have to appreciate the hell out of them and not think about the things you don't like about them. And then it will activate the things you like about them much more. So they'll be nicer to you. Now, they might not stop being mean completely, but they will be nicer to you. So that's something you want to keep in mind as well. And that will make your job way easier and less boring. Because people will be nicer, because you're appreciating everything about them. You could appreciate their hair that day, their makeup, what they're wearing, and then appreciate the things they're saying. If they do something that you think is considerate in the meeting, or if they say something that is somewhat interesting, focus on all those things that you think are actually interesting about what they're saying. And then as you focus on what is interesting about the things at your job, and if you focus on what you do like about your job, and you laser focus on every single thing you're doing, like how I said you focus on the way the pen feels and the words you're reading and everything that everyone says to you, you listen, you need to focus very closely on every single word that they say. Focus on the sound of the phones ringing. Focus on, I don't know what, I'm trying to think of different jobs. Like I keep thinking of an office environment. I guess most people probably work in an office or some kind of building that's like an office. If you work at a factory, that's really boring. So you can focus on the sounds of the machines, focus on the feeling of the clothes you're folding, or the food you're packaging. You focus on the way the box feels. You focus on the sound of the what do you call it, the factory belt rolling everything down. You just focus on everything you can think of, and that will make the time fly by much faster, and it will make your job less boring. And you should do that with anything. When you focus on only the things that you like, that you see around you at work, with everyone that you activate those things, and you attract more of the good things that you like about everything in your surroundings to you, instead of the things that you don't like. So the first technique that Teal Swan says is what I just explained, which is you can use this laser focusing approach to everything and just focus intensely on it. So that is the first technique. The second technique is to simply do something else that seems like it would be more interesting. I mean, that seems pretty obvious, right? If you're bored and you don't want to do something, Teal Swan says you basically have two options. The first option is the laser focus approach, which I just described, where you simply decide, okay, well, I have to do this thing. You have to go to work to get a paycheck, so you have to find a way to enjoy your job, if you have to be there. So you can either really focus on what you're doing and find things you appreciate about it, and find things that are actually interesting about it, or Teal Swan says the other option, the second technique or approach, is to just do something else. So, I mean, I am not telling you to quit your job in this video. I think I personally recommend that you get a new job before you quit your current job, obviously. But, I mean, sometimes your job is really that bad, and I guess, I just quit my job and I did not have a new job to go to. So, but like I said, I do not recommend quitting your current job before you get a new job, just because, unless you feel like your mental health is really at stake at your current job, like how I felt in my last job, and that's why I quit, because I felt like that job was not worth my mental health. So I just quit. So unless you feel like your mental health is at stake, I feel like, unless you have enough money to get you by, you should probably keep your current job, But anyway, so I do not recommend that you quit your current job. But, that's the other option. You could do something else. You could quit your job if you want to. But again, I do not recommend that you quit your current job. to do another job unless you have enough money saved up. So, until you get a new job. But, I mean, and this goes for your free time as well. Like, if you have free time, I feel like I have a lot of free time. But, I mean, whenever you're in your free time, and say you're bored, because that happens to me a lot. I always feel like I have a lot of free time, but I never know what to do with myself. And I feel like everything I do, I get bored with really quickly. So if you're like me, then you just need to keep allowing yourself to go in the direction of doing something that feels more interesting. A lot of times I feel like I force myself to do things that I don't want to do because I feel like it's in alignment with my goals. Like I'll see a YouTube video about how to gain 1,000 subscribers fast on YouTube, and obviously I'm a YouTuber, so I feel like I should watch that video because that would be a productive use of my time. But I don't really want to watch it, so I'll sit there and I'll force myself to watch this video. And I'll be really bored a lot of times by videos like this, and I'll just be like, ugh, this is so boring, but I should do it. So I've decided that I am just not going to do that anymore. I've just decided I am not going to stand for being bored. I just decided I am not going to do that to myself because I love myself that much, and I'm just going to let myself go in the direction of whatever feels most fun for me in the moment. And I trust that as I do that, I will be guided to do the right things at the right time that will lead me to ultimately where I want to be in my career. I don't think that I will just waste a bunch of time all the time if I stop forcing myself to do things I don't want to do. I think what will happen instead is I will, just by following my fun all the time, I think that I will be guided to watch those types of YouTube videos about gaining subscribers at the right time when it's actually interesting for me. And then, I also think that just by me following my fun all the time, instead of forcing myself to do stuff, I'm just going to always be in the right place at the right time, and like I said, and do the things that will lead me to gain all those subscribers and have a great part-time job and apply for jobs at the right time and apply for the right jobs at the right time, because I'm building up this momentum of fun. So I pretty much only follow my fun. Like, I decided I'm going to just only do what's fun for me to do when I'm in my free time, when I have free time, when I'm not working. I'm going to just only do what is actually fun for me to do. I decided a while ago I'm going to stop doing stuff that is boring to me because life is too short. And I trust that as I do that, as I always follow my fun, I trust that I will be guided to do the things like, networking on Twitter and Reddit and stuff like that to gain more subscribers, and watching the right YouTube videos about gaining subscribers. And I trust that I'll be guided to apply for jobs in a moment when I'm actually feeling inspired, so that I will in turn it'll be more likely for me to get a job that I actually enjoy, because I'm building up this momentum of fun. And just by law of attraction, I'm going to be having more fun just by always doing what's fun. But I mean, yeah, that's basically what I'm saying that I want to do personally. And so, yeah, basically, if you're bored all the time, you have two options. You can either laser focus on whatever it is you're doing, or do something that is more interesting, you know? And I get bored so fast, I find I have to do something that's more interesting every 10 or 15 minutes. And I used to kind of force myself to have a longer attention span, you know? And, you know, like if I was bored by a movie, I used to force myself to sit there and finish watching the whole movie. You know, now, you know, like, what are you doing? Like, I didn't want to just let myself stop the movie and do something that was more interesting than me and just finish the movie later, you know? Like, I don't know why I do this to myself sometimes, but I've stopped doing that like how I used to. Now, if I start watching a movie and it bores me, but I'm like, but I should watch this movie because I'm a film buff and this is an important historical movie that I should watch fully right now to prove that I'm really a film buff. No, I stopped doing that. I don't care anymore. Life is too short. I'm just like, if this movie is boring me, then I'm just gonna watch something else, you know, and come back to it later. And I'll come back to the movie later. And a lot of times when I do that, when I just stop doing whatever is boring and I just watch whatever is more interesting, a lot of times after I watch the more interesting thing, I'll come back to that thing that was boring to me a few hours ago and I'll actually want to do it all of a sudden. It'll actually be interesting to me again. Probably because I followed my fun. So now I've got a momentum of fun going. And now things that were boring to me before are interesting to me now. See how it works? So that is what I personally do. And, you know, I think it's a great way to live your life. I mean, I'm just talking about doing this in your free time. That's what I do in my free time. Obviously, if you have a job, you can't always follow your fun because you do still need to go to work, you know? So, but I'm just talking about what you can do in your free time. In your free time, I feel like, why not always follow your fun, you know? Like, unless there's something you have to do, unless you have to go to work, unless you have to go to a meeting, unless you have to spend time with your family, in those few hours where you have nothing that you have to do, you know, in your free time, why not just do whatever is most fun for you instead of forcing yourself to do all these self-improvement things and follow your goals things that you don't actually really want to do in that moment, but you do because you feel like, I don't want to be unproductive. You know what I'm saying? I have just decided to stop doing that. To stop trying to be productive in my free time, and I just have fun. I just do whatever's fun, and then I'm more productive now than I ever have been before by doing this, by simply having fun. You would think it would be the other way around. You would think I would be less productive now because I'm always having fun, but I'm actually way more productive now than I ever have been before because I just decided to stop standing for boredom and forcing myself to be productive, and I just only have fun when I'm in my free time now. And so I'm way more productive now. I make way more videos than ever. I, you know, research way more things than ever. I network way more than ever. Like, I'm just way more productive now than ever. Like, it's crazy. So, that's my video, and please subscribe, and thank you for watching. I love you guys. Bye.